Hello folks. In this video, I want to talk about this thing called common entrance test that has been introduced or is going to be introduced this year for central universities in India. And this is for UG programs. And this is something that I noticed only today over the news. So I'll show you where I found it out. So I found it out here in Indian Express. And so they talk about central entrance test and for central universities and how the 12th marks won't count. um, I'll put the link of the news in the description. So I want to talk about like what is going on over here, right? And so I was when I saw this headline, I was a bit like confused, as in like, hey, what's going on? So 12th marks is not going to be considered, like as in 12th grade is not going to be considered as a thing for the university or like for your undergraduate program. Then what's going to happen? Like, how is this going to be seen as like for schools? And like how people have always been talking about how 10th grade and 12th grade marks are very important. And now, if this change comes up, so the tricky thing over here is this is not for all the universities in India. This talks only about this thing called central universities, which is actually a specific set of universities. I'll show what this means. So so central university is something actually a list of universities that has been like established by the act of parliament, by an act of parliament. And like so you can see that there are some 54. According to the news, there was like 45 universities, but there are only some universities that come under this thing. And they're going to have a common entrance test for these set of universities alone. As in like they plan to, at least I don't know how sure this is going to be, but they say it's going to happen in July. And this is just very new thing, so it's a news today. And like I was just looking at, is there a university in Tamil Nadu? So I'm in Tamil Nadu in Chennai, and I was looking at the Chennai universities. So the popular one in Chennai is called Anna University, and Anna University is actually not a central university. And Anna University has actually hundreds of colleges under it, hundreds of colleges under it, and like a lot of people join those colleges. And in Tamil Nadu, I think there was only two of them. I think Central University of Tamil Nadu and Indian Maritime University. So, and like these, there are only just a few universities, but I think some of these universities are pretty popular. For example, I think the Delhi one is pretty popular. Uh, so let me go check it out. So I think the University of Delhi is pretty popular. But yeah, it really depends on what universities we are talking about. But then, even then, I think this is a very big thing, like as in wherein you actually bring a new entrance test. We have already for IIT alone, we have IIT JEE and all that stuff, JEE exam and all that, and then we have NEET for all this medical stuff, and then I think we also have JIPMER and whatnot, and then now we have this, wherein apart from 12, I mean like not apart from, I think this is like 12th marks are all not even considered as what they're saying according to the news, which is surprising. And then I mean only for central universities of course, but still surprising. And they're saying we'll have a common entrance test. It's called let me see what they call it. So they call it, I think, common university entrance test. So yeah, I mean, I'm like, okay, so why would someone do this? And like, if you look at the news, they talk about how some say CBSE boards, metric boards, and then I think there's ICSE and whatnot. Some boards give marks more gracefully, and like like they just give away the marks and like graciously, like just, hey, take the marks, like more marks. I think I've heard that this for matriculation, but then I don't know how true it is. But people actually even change boards when they move from 10th to 11th grade, and then like 11th and 12th they do in a different board to actually just score more marks and score more marks easily and all that. And they say that this is one reason that we won't actually provide a fair platform. But this is only for the people who are going to be aiming for joining these central universities that are there in India, not the others. But this is still a bit huge, at least seems like it. The reason why I think it's a bit huge is that like now they're saying they will not consider 12th. I was wondering why this would be the case. So recently there has been a lot of things going on, right? Like there's been like COVID for the last 2 years now in India, and all over the world. There's been like for 2 years, there's been like a lot of craziness and chaos because of COVID, and education has been affected to some extent, especially for school children who usually go to the school and learn instead of like learning virtually, compared to like universities and whatnot, which have actually, remote programs and whatnot from far long ago. Now I think the way these exams were, executed, and like 12th, 10th, and like how things have been going on, I think people have started to move on to think about such things, and like how much you can trust these marks and whatnot. And then so I think they're thinking about that. But then the other perspective that I have about this is like how we're bringing in more entrance exams and what this means, right? This is a bit huge, but what I think this means is like probably there are some companies, there are so many education tech companies coming up these days, so many tuition and like so many big companies coming up. Like there is Byju's in India, there is Akash Institute in India, there is FITGI in India. There are so many big tuition institutions in India, and like as in education institutions, which do tuition, education tech, like they have apps and whatnot. They have centers where people go and learn. We already have like a lot of entrance exams for different kinds of things, IAS, whatever, UPSC. You have things for bank exams and whatnot, right? And then you have MBA and whatnot, common admission tests and whatnot. So now you bring in this common university entrance test. You have an exam, extra exam. An extra exam with a syllabus means you need to learn for it. And when you say you need to learn for it, you can actually have a tuition or you can have a course, a training program for it, which means more money for all these companies that actually bring in training programs. So one very controversial theory that I have is probably some education tech company or some big folks brought this in, and this will actually fuel money to the corporates, where all these big companies who do this teaching, and like wherein like they'll be like, hey, this common university entrance test is something that we teach, like this syllabus we teach, and you can come and learn from us, and you have to pay this much money, and like we also teach it on our app, and like you have to pay this subscription money and whatnot, right? So this is money for businesses. So I think this is a new, this bringing this in means a lot of things, and one of those things for me, according to me, means that you can actually make money by running a training program for this. So who benefits? All these training programs that are going to come. So I think they might have actually put in money and like probably pushed the government somehow, and manipulated things and like did this. But that's just a controversial opinion. But yeah, given the way education has become a very big business these days, I won't be surprised if this is true. So that's why I have this like controversial opinion. Uh, but apart from that, I think yeah, this is tricky. I don't know how this is going to pan out. Like now, starting from IIT, now they have moved on to some set of universities, for some 45, 50 universities, central universities, and they keep putting more and more, like keep covering more and more universities, and like kind of try to cover all the colleges in India. Then they would have a very big market for running these training programs. And the tricky, like the craziest thing about this is like when I was reading, I didn't think about the main question, right? Which is, hey, this is an entrance test. What is the syllabus for this, right? Like, what is fair syllabus for this? Like, previously it was 12th, you teach in the school and then you have an exam, board exam, whatever, and then you use that mark to actually take people into the college. Now with this is a separate entrance test. I don't know if this syllabus is similar to the school syllabus, or do they have something extra different. When I was looking at how this test is going to be, they mentioned like there's going to be two shifts. There's going to be languages, there's going to be like some domain subjects. I don't know what they meant by domain subjects, but yeah, I don't know what the syllabus and like what is the whole this idea about this exam and like what they'll test for and whatnot. But yeah, let's see how this goes on. But my hunch is like this is like not great in the sense that this is going to actually just be another hurdle for students, and this is basically going to benefit companies though, education tech companies and any education institution company that does training programs. They're going to earn money by bringing in training programs for this common university entrance test, but students are still going to struggle. And like the core question remains, as in like this all points towards like education as a business, and then what does education even mean? uh I mean, like this whole process is around, this test is around like who is eligible to actually get into a college, right? So you're basically talking about a fair, remember it's a very subjective word, so a fair way to actually say, hey, this person is eligible or like is good enough to actually, or when you say good enough or like can go, or basically you're doing a gatekeeping thing where you say, hey, this person can go, this person cannot go, or this person is more suitable or like can has the more deserves to go, deserves more and deserves less because more score, less score, and whatnot, right? Like, so this is a big deal, and in education, this is always a very, very controversial thing, right? Like, wherein you talk about scores and like who is better, and then what does this score even mean? Like, starting from your first grade to your 10th, 11th, 12th grade, and then you have all these scores, you have scores for your college, and then what this means. Like, usually it translates to getting a job for a lot of people or doing some research and whatnot. At the end of the day, some job and get money, but everyone sees education as a different thing. Some people see it holistically as this thing that you need it for your life, where you learn things to actually live a better life and to live in a better manner in the society. But yeah, it's like it's a very tricky thing. Some people just don't are really poor that they just want to focus on the money and they want to earn, so they want to get a job. So they try to actually pass all these exams and like have to break all these doors of exams basically, and then put the foot out and like be like, okay, now I can actually just get a job because I have these certificates, I have this marks, I have this college degree, and then now I can get a job. The awesome part is I think education industry is changing. Like education, the domain is changing. The whole field is changing. Like I've seen people talk about how colleges and schools can be replaced. Like I'm already seeing people talk about uh, doing people doing homeschooling. This has been a long old thing, but like in pandemic, I think this has become like a bit more prominent because since kids are not going to school much and learning virtually, parents are also starting to actually homeschool kids, teach them and whatnot. And then apart from this, Google bringing in new things for their degrees and whatnot. Google was bringing in before itself nano degree and stuff for their tech-based programs. They called it nano degree and all that. Now they're bringing in like ideas around like how they can teach and almost replace colleges, and like how those certificates or like certifications can actually help people get jobs. And yeah, it's a big thing. So I think this is just a very small blip, but still a lot of money for companies that are going to actually do training programs for these entrance exams. So yeah, that's all I had for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.